So, I think we can officially say the second arc has ended. Because Edamon's gone and we're in this transition period where the new villain hasn't appeared yet, but you can tell this is the beginning of the third arc. And I have to say, after watching this episode again, god damn it, the third arc started out really strong. I mean, it's a welcome change in scenery, the art style really stepped up. There's this weird feel to it, like it's a calm before the storm, and this episode just sticks out in my mind. I'll probably talk more about this episode later, but now I'm just going to mention what's revealed to us in this episode. We learn that Tai has a sister Kari, who was originally supposed to go to summer camp with him, but got sick. We learn that time passes differently in the digital world, where it seems like the heroes had been in the digital world for days. In the real world, it's still the same day that they left. Kari also tells us that she's seen Digimon before, and she recognizes Koromon immediately. Then Digimon start invading the real world, and Tai gets sucked back to the digital world. He finds out that his whole group of friends have now separated, and he needs to go reunite everyone in what I think are probably some of the most painful episodes in the entire season. It's stupid, but its main purpose is to give the kids their new evolutions. Except for TK, of course. But yeah, this part always got me, even when I was watching this as a little kid, because apparently everyone in the group, everyone, thought that the best option when proceeding through the digital world after Tai leaves is to split up the group and go on their separate ways. Because that's the most logical option available when you're talking about randomly traveling through a dangerous world which has tried to kill you a dozen times already. I guess it's supposed to symbolize that without Tai, the whole group would fall apart, but to me this symbolizes that without Tai, everyone stops thinking and acts like idiots. You couldn't come up with a better reason for why the group was apart. You couldn't have had it like, oh, the explosion from Edamon's black hole dark network thing that sent us flying across the digital world, and we've been trying to reconnect with each other ever since. Or maybe have it they were warped to different parts of the digital world. I mean, if Tai can get warped to the human world, why can't Izzy be warped here? But if the kids got separated that way, then we wouldn't be able to be introduced to this character. This annoying flying rat is named Digimon. His job is to come up with the most convoluted, stupid, and overcomplicated plans to keep these kids separated. I mean, it's... Really, Matt couldn't get his ultimate evolution any other way. We had to sit through the I'm gonna make Joe wash dishes for the rest of his life plot. How about have an episode like where Matt is flung to like the far end of the digital world, separated from TK, and he's desperately trying to find TK. And then he runs into Joe, and they team up, but because Joe is Joe, Joe ends up slowing that down for one reason or another. Matt, fearing that every passing second that he's not with his little brother, he could be in danger, ponders leaving Joe behind. And then Matt actually does leave Joe, but then he hears Joe's in trouble, and he goes back and saves him, and that gets his crest of friendship and his new evolution. See? No Digimon needed. And no scenes where the characters make idiots out of themselves. By either falling for his moronic plans, or by trusting whatever he says. His name has Digimon in it. He is so clearly evil.
That's not fair. It's prejudice. That's what it is. Just because I'm not a cuddly butterball like you, then you think I must be a bad guy. That's so, I don't know, superficial.
But no. When he flies over to TK and says, "Hey TK, I just talked to your brother, and he says he hates you and never wants to see you again," TK just believes him. But yeah, all the kids eventually get assembled, and we learn that Digimon is not working alone. He's working for somebody. And this is where it gets interesting. The main villain for this arc is Myotismon. He plans on going to the human world for, at this time, unknown reasons, with an army that was put together by his second-in-command, Garomon. The kids try to stop him but fail, and then they follow after him when the kids solve his magic card puzzle thing. I only mention it because it's how they get to the human world, and also it's brought up again during the second season. But before they leave, the kids learn that Myotismon went to the human world searching for the 8th Digidestin. There was a child that was supposed to go to the digital world with everyone else, but didn't for some reason, and is somewhere on Earth. And he's searching for him or her by using replications of the 8th child's crest and tags. So the kids manage to get back to the human world, and it becomes a race against time to see who finds the 8th child first. Will it be Myotismon or the kids? And honestly, is at this moment I remember why I loved Digimon when I was a kid. I mean, we've got Digimon fights in the real world. Cool. We've got a race against time to find the 8th child. Cool. We have scenes with the kids interacting with their parents. Interesting. And we have this scene where Myotismon just rounds up everyone and puts them in a convention center. Cool. Also, this arc made me realize two things. Number one, the first arc is really kind of dull. How did the third arc make me realize this? Well, at this point, I kind of started comparing the first arc to the third arc, because to me they follow a somewhat similar structure. They both begin with an entering, or in this case, re-entering, of the digital world. We then get like a brief explanation about what's going on and what's happening, which is then followed by a couple episodes spotlighting a kid in the group, usually ending in a new evolution. And I mean, Devimon is kind of comparable to Black Gears. I mean, he serves the same purpose, to get Digimon to fight the heroes, and to try to add some type of mystery about who the villain is they work for. And once every kid has their moment, the villain of this arc is revealed to them. And it's at this point I notice the first arc's biggest problem. I don't really feel like the first arc really escalates like it should. Like when Myotismon enters the story officially, we get a brand new focus, and we also get a new setting. Also, Myotismon becomes a more active threat. In the first arc, when Devimon's introduced in the story officially, the focus shifts from not having any focus and just having the kids wandering around the digital world to having the kids wandering around the digital world while trying to reunite with each other. The setting is still the same, it's still the digital world, and we kind of get some creative imagery, but at this point, these type of visuals have become the norm for the digital world, so I'm really used to seeing this type of stuff, so it's really not that impressive anymore. Also, like I said, Myotismon becomes a lot more active in fighting against the kids as well as accomplishing his own objectives, while Devimon just doesn't do anything. I mean, he wasn't doing anything in the first half of the arc because he wasn't revealed yet, and then he shows up, does this, and then he's back to just doing nothing and hoping everything works out okay. I'm going to talk about more solutions on how to fix the first arc later, but right now I'm just going to say that the third arc exposes some very, how should I put it, damaging flaws in it. The second thing the third arc does is it reveals just how utterly pointless the second arc was. It seems to me like the main point of the second arc was to find a way to give the kids their tags and crests. This is done by having an annoying, boring, uninteresting scavenger hunt with an out-of-place and just kind of confusing antagonist. Also, I guess the writers wanted a way for Tai to end up in the real world. But did we really need an entire second arc to do this? I mean, was the scavenger hunt in Edamon really necessary for the kids to get their tags and crests and to end up with Tai in the real world so he can come back and he can try to reunite the group again? Why did the tags and crests have to be two different things and separated from each other? Why not just have them already combined when the kids find the tags at the beginning of the story? That way we don't have a scavenger hunt, and the kids are just trying to figure out how the tags work. Just have them find everything they need in the convenience store underwater. Or better yet, why not have Genai be the one that gives them the tags and crests? After they defeat Devimon, just have Genai come up and say, "Ah, so you are the Digidestin that the prophecy spoke of. Congratulations on defeating Devimon, but I must warn you, there are several more evil Digimon that you must defeat, and it shall be no easy task. In order for you to defeat them, you must use these tags, which will allow your Digimon to grow stronger. I have been holding on to them, waiting for the one day that the heroes of the prophecy shall come to the digital world. But how do they work? I'm sorry, that is something you must figure out on your own, as I do not know the answer. Good luck on your quest, Digidestin. And then have Genai tell the kids to go to the new continent, and then on the way there, the kids start hypothesizing all the different ways that the tags could work. We could even keep the Skull Greymon episode in there. In fact, I think we can make it a little more important to the plot. At this point, everyone has their tags and crests, and Tai has his hypothesis that because he's the leader, he should get the first evolution, so he starts hoarding everyone's food. You know, doing the same thing he did before. Then all the kids get attacked by an enemy, and Tai throws himself in harm's way to try to force an evolution. We get the Skull Greymon evolution, and then why not have this be the thing that sends Tai into the real world somehow? Like have it that the enemy the kids were fighting was some type of dark, evil force, and have it that his attack and Skull Greymon's missile like collide, and that forms a black hole or something that ends up sucking Tai and Koromon, who after the attack de-evolved to Koromon, into it, ultimately landing them back into the real world. And if we have to keep Edamon in the show, I guess we could have it that Edamon is the Dark Digimon, that the kids start fighting to trigger the Skull Greymon evolution. But instead of having him be like a main villain for an entire arc, just have him be like a high-ranking flunky for Myotismon. Kind of like Gatomon or Devimon. Just have it that Edamon is attacking the kids. He ends up taking out all the other champion evolutions except for Greymon. Tai throws himself into danger. Greymon sees this, force evolves into Skull Greymon, starts rampaging, just going all over the place. Tai starts following him, trying to calm him down. Edamon throws up his Dark Network attack. Skull Greymon shoots a missile at it. They collide in midair. This causes a wormhole or a black hole or whatever that ends up sucking Tai and Skull Greymon, like I said, now Koromon, into it, and that's how they get in the real world. Then we have this episode, and Tai wonders why he came back to the real world. He thinks that maybe the digital world rejected him and has sent him back to the real world because of his bad leadership. He wonders if he was ever fit to be the leader. Kari peps him up, and then he's ready to go back to the digital world. He sees that all the kids have separated, and he tries to win back his leadership position by reuniting everyone. And while Tai's trying to reunite everyone, everyone gets their ultimate evolutions and stuff, similar to how they got it originally. But in the last episode, the reuniting section of the arc ends with Tai getting his ultimate evolution, signifying that he is ready to lead the newly reunited group of kids. And just have had like Edamon running around trying to keep the kids separated in ways similar to how Devimon was doing it. And just have him get killed when Tai gets his new evolution. There! I think I have successfully found a way to bypass the entire second arc. And believe you me, we will definitely talk more about ways to improve these two arcs later when we talk about the individual characters and villains in this season. But for now, let's just leave it alone and move on and continue talking about the third arc. So yeah, the kids are back in the real world, hunting for the 8th child, trying to find them before Myotismon does. To help him find the 8th child, Myotismon has sent his minions in disguise, searching around the city with copies of the 8th child's tag and crest, which should glow when the tag and crest is near the 8th child. Myotismon, of course, keeps the real tag and crest on his person. There are a few things that I really like about this arc. One is seeing the Digimon interact with the human world, and just trying to see them understand this new universe they've entered. Like one scene that always kind of struck me as cute was when the Digimon realized that there are more human children in the world than just these 7.
I never knew there were more human children than you! This is nothing. Why, just in the city alone, there must be tens of thousands of kids just like us. And when you add the rest of the kids in the world, there must be millions. Huh? You mean there are millions of Soras? There's only one of me!
That scene is adorable. I also like to see the kids interact with their families. It adds a bit of depth to their characters. Also, having Digimon interacting with the human world, I think improves the show's sense of humor. I mean, the show already had a pretty good sense of humor. It was wacky, it was silly, but I think a lot more of the jokes work in this part of the arc because I really kind of think it's funny to see different people react to seeing or discovering Digimon. But hey, that's just me. I guess we should kind of wrap up this arc. So after having a few episodes where Myotismon has his Digimon minions wandering around the human world in disguises, searching for the 8th child, but then the kids discover Kari's the 8th child, and both the kids and Myotismon discover that Gatomon is actually Kari's Digimon partner. So with this new information, what does Myotismon decide to do? He decides to say nuts to the whole idea of keeping Digimon's existence a secret from humans, and just goes into a full-on invasion, rounding up children and parents alike and locking them inside a giant convention center. This does make me ask one question. Why did he not do this from the start? Why didn't Myotismon, just as soon as he came into the human world, just invade the city with Digimon, conquer it, round up all the children, throw them in a convention center, and then just go through them one by one, similar to how he's doing it now with Gatomon, except with the tags and crest, which glow when they're near the 8th child. I don't know, that would have been the first thing I would have done if I was Myotismon. But I'm not. I'm just a 19-year-old college student talking about a show that's meant for 7-year-olds. I feel depressed now. But yeah, I don't think they gave him a reason why he couldn't just do this right off the bat. I mean, I would have had him just say some throwaway line about waiting for a certain time or a certain date or waiting for a certain Digimon to get into certain positions. Like having him get in certain positions around the city, preventing people from escaping. I don't think he does that. Maybe he does. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention or something. Although I'm not too upset because this does lead to my favorite part in the entire season, with Myotismon gaining control of the city, and the kids fighting to protect Kari, and the kids are forced in this awkward position of saving their parents from these, I guess you can call them mystical creatures. But I think I'm just going to speed the rest of the plot here because I'm getting real sick and tired of talking about this. So the kids have all their ultimate evolutions, Kari's been kidnapped, they all run to the convention center where Myotismon is. All the new evolutions are still no match for the villain. So right before he's about to kill Kari, Gatomon digivolves to Angelomon and kills Myotismon. I'm starting to sense a theme here. Myotismon comes back, then he dies to new evolutions that Matt and Tai get. Then the heroes find out the digital world is in trouble and colliding with the human world. So the 7 original kids and Kari go back to the digital world to fight the evil that's there. You get the Dark Masters, blah blah blah, fight fight fight. Yeah, then Apocalypse happens. We'll talk about him later. But yeah, the plot to Digimon Adventure. It's not great. It's not good. It's not bad. It's okay. The first 2 arcs of the season, I don't think are really that good, to be honest. Now, I've already explained that I think the second arc is completely unnecessary and can very easily be bypassed. And it seems like everybody hates the second arc, so we'll hold off on talking about it until we get to the villains part and talk about Edamon. The first arc, though, I think out of the 4 arcs, it's probably the most forgettable, which isn't good if it's supposed to be the intro to the entire season. The villain doesn't have a lot going for him. The kids, I mean, what made me start getting interested in the kids and their personalities and had me start relating to them, all that stuff happened mainly during the 3rd and part of the 4th arc. I mean, the first arc definitely has moments where they foreshadow these type of things. Like, it foreshadows Izzy's adoption, and it foreshadows some type of parental conflict going on with TK. But I don't really remember them getting, like, tackled on an emotional level or developed until about the third arc. Oh, no wait, there was the Skullgreymon, Pixiemon thing during the second arc. And, you know, that part was okay. I remember kind of liking it as a kid, but I really loved, when I was younger, the Myotismon arc. And while I may not like it as much as I did back then, I still think it's a decent arc. I think it has a great beginning episode. It starts to really sag when the group gets separated and everyone has to get reunited. But then it picks right back up again when Myotismon enters the human world. Like I said, this part is very interesting. Throughout all the Digimon seasons, I've always liked to see the kids interact with their parents. I think it adds a bit of a humanizing quality. I don't know how to describe it other than it just makes them feel... Is real the right word to use? Who cares? It makes them feel a little more real. I think this part also has some of the most memorable scenes in the entire season, from Izzy's parents' confession to the death of Wizardmon. And I don't know, this fights with Skullmeramon and that Squid Digimon always kind of stuck with me. So yeah, the third arc is fine. My biggest complaints are pretty much almost solely centered around the whole reuniting section of the arc. The fourth arc it's okay. I really breezed past it, and I guess I should just do a better summary of it. While the kids were in the human world, 4 Mega Level Digimon seized control of the entire digital world and now twisting and contorting it into this mountain. They call it Spiral Mountain. And this is causing the human world and the digital world to start to intersect. So the kids have to defeat the 4 Dark Masters, which will cause Spiral Mountain to completely dissolve. This arc, I definitely like it more than the first and second one. I mean, it definitely has the upper hand on all of them because they don't have to waste time introducing new evolutions or having the kids go around searching for some arbitrary artifact or item. I mean, the season starts out right away. The heroes know who the villains are. The villain's plan is clear. But where I think the season kind of shoots itself in the foot is the fact that Tai and Matt are the only 2 that have Mega Level evolutions, making them the only ones that can stand up to the Dark Masters. I think it messes with the group dynamic. It makes a lot of the other kids just seem kind of useless at times. Also, at times, the arc seems a little rushed. It seems like a lot more time and thought was put into characters such as Puppetmon when compared to his colleague Machingermon. I mean, Machingermon's part to me seemed kind of short and seemed more like a Kari section than a Dark Master section. I mean, first Kari gets sick, then she gets possessed by a light spirit. It also shows us that Jedi, that old guy from before, is a jerk because he's been holding out on a lot of important information about the digital world he could have told the heroes, but he just chose not to. That's a bad writing thing I don't like to see a lot. You know, the guy that could tell the heroes important stuff, but he just chooses not to because either the writers haven't thought of that yet, or he's a jerk. Or my favorite, oh, I forgot. That's the one I hear a lot. It goes right up there with selective amnesia. I hate that. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. The fact that the 4th arc seems so rushed makes it clear to me that this should not have been a 4-arc season. It could have still been 54 episodes, but it shouldn't have been spread out into 4 parts. Now, later seasons like O2, Tamers, Data Squad, they kind of learned from this. They split it into 3 parts. And I mean, that's how most stories are told. It's a 3-act structure. When you split it into 4 parts, you run the risk of having not only one of the arcs look sloppy and rushed, but also it could start taking away from future arcs. And that's what I think happens in this season. As I said probably a million times now, I think the second arc was unnecessary. We could have gotten rid of it, made it a 3-part story. It could have gone like this. A group of kids are called in the digital world to save it. They then have to go back to Earth to save Earth from invading Digimon. They then have to go to the digital world to save both the digital world and Earth. Instead, in between kids coming to the digital world to save it and kids going home to save Earth, we have a part that goes, kids dick around the desert looking for little crests and fighting Elvis monkeys. It just doesn't blend well and doesn't seem like a natural progression. Also, there seemed to be a running theme throughout the season of angelic Digimon saving the kids the last second. The only odd man out of this whole thing is the second arc, which has Tai be the one that saves the day with Metal Greymon. Now, the angelic Digimon thing to me seemed like a bit of bad writing because it seems like all these new evolutions that the kids got were only really useful to take out like henchmen of the villain, because the villain just seems to bat them away like they're nothing. But right before the villain is about to kill one of the little kids, they get a new angel evolution and it kills the villain because they're darkness and they're good, made out of light and stuff. And they also act as very convenient Deus Ex Machinas when you need to get Mega Evolution. So even though I don't like the fact that they used this same ending 3 times, I do have to say it sets a pattern and once again makes the second arc stick out like a polar bear on Miami Beach. To me, if they wanted to make the second arc blend in better, then it should have either had Edamon die to an angelic Digimon, or have had Piedmon, Devimon, and Myotismon die in different ways to different types of Digimon. Or have had them die in more of a group effort, kind of like Myotismon's second form. I actually would have much rather preferred that. But if we got rid of the second arc completely, then we could have used the time the heroes spent moving around through the desert and diverted it to maybe some characters that could have used some more development. Like, say, I think Wizardmon could have used a little more development. Or maybe have done something interesting with the villains, or given Machinedramon more screen time. I don't know. To be honest, I'm just tired of talking about the plot. I've been at this for days. So, final thoughts about the plot. It's okay. The first 2 arcs are, I would say, bad. Ranging from just generic, mediocre, and forgettable to completely unnecessary. Third arc is, I'd say, good. I'd say it's, decent, somewhere between decent and good. The fourth arc was just okay. I honestly just want to move on. We're not going to talk about the setting or the evolutions because I have nothing to really say about them. So next time we're going to move right on to talk about the characters, and I've got a good feeling about it. So good night, and see you next time. Thanks for watching.